Long before the first towering dinosaurs roamed the earth, long before the great forests and sweeping plains took their recognizable forms, the world was a place of rivers and shallow seas, teeming with life still finding its place. In these primordial waters, long before humans or even mammals, a quiet survivor began its story, the sturgeon. Its ancestors swam in rivers that cut across a world still united as the supercontinent Pangaea. These early rivers were wide and slow, flowing under alien skies where strange ferns and cycads waved in the winds. The air was thick with humidity, the sun hotter than we know it today, and the waters shimmered with life. Tiny arthropods darted between rocks, early amphibians clambered along the shores, and fish of all shapes and sizes glided in the depths. But among them, the sturgeon's ancestors moved with a calm, deliberate grace, armored and patient, unhurried in a world that could be both nurturing and deadly. From the very beginning, the sturgeon was designed to endure. Its body, though primitive by modern standards, carried the hallmarks of survival. A streamlined form for gliding along riverbeds, tough bony scuts that acted as shields against predators, and sensory barbels that probed the mud for hidden prey. It was not a creature of speed or aggression. It did not chase, it did not strike, it simply survived. Its power lay in patience and endurance, in being perfectly suited to its watery world. Life in these ancient rivers was a delicate balance. Predators lurked in every current, waiting for an opportunity. Competition for food was constant. Yet the sturgeon thrived because it understood the subtle language of the river. It sensed changes in water, shifts in temperature, the vibrations of passing creatures. It navigated not by sight alone, but by instinct honed over countless generations. And in this quiet attentiveness, it learned its first lessons: how to endure, how to adapt, and how to wait. The sturgeon's lineage was already ancient, even at this early stage. While other species experimented with body forms, growing wings, legs, or shells, the sturgeon's blueprint remained constant. It was a survivor of slow evolution, a species that found a balance and maintained it, perfecting endurance over novelty. It was a fish that did not seek glory or dominance. It sought only to continue, to persist, to glide through rivers unbroken by time. In these early days, the rivers themselves were alive and ever-changing. Floods swept through valleys, altering courses and creating new channels. Volcanoes occasionally sent ash into the skies, darkening the waters and filling the air with a harsh taste. Even then, the sturgeon adapted. It retreated when necessary, it sought refuge in deep pools, and it continued to feed and grow as the river dictated. Its patience and resilience became its greatest weapons. As centuries passed, the sturgeon's body remained remarkably consistent. It had discovered a formula for survival that required little change. It was armored where protection mattered, flexible where movement was essential, and tuned to the rhythms of its river home. It was a quiet testament to the principle that sometimes, in evolution, the most enduring creatures are those that have already perfected the art of living. And so, long before the age of dinosaurs, before the roar of great predators filled the forests, the sturgeon swam. It carried within it the memory of the Earth's first rivers, the instincts of countless generations, and the promise of survival through whatever the world might throw at it. It was, and would remain, a creature of patience and endurance, a living relic of a world that was still young, a survivor whose story would stretch across hundreds of millions of years. The sturgeon's journey had begun. It was quiet, deliberate, and eternal. And though the rivers would change, continents would drift, and the creatures around it would rise and fall, the sturgeon would continue, a living memory of life itself, flowing steadily through the endless currents of time. The world of the Triassic period was unlike anything we know today. Pangaea stretched across the globe, a supercontinent surrounded by vast, unbroken oceans. The skies were hazy with heat, the air thick with moisture, and the land itself was restless, shaped by volcanic activity and the slow drift of continents. In this world of extremes, rivers carved their way through landscapes of strange plants, primitive forests, and jagged mountains. These rivers were lifelines, corridors of movement and survival for the creatures that inhabited them. Amid these waters, the sturgeon thrived. Its ancestors had already endured the chaos of earlier periods, surviving mass extinctions and the ever-changing cycles of life. Now, in the Triassic rivers, it moved with the calm certainty of a creature perfectly adapted to its home. Unlike faster, more aggressive fish, it did not need to chase prey or fight for territory. It drifted along riverbeds, sensing vibrations in the water, probing the mud with its delicate barbels to find worms, crustaceans, and other hidden morsels. Every movement was deliberate, measured, and efficient, honed by millions of years of evolution. The Triassic rivers were alive with a quiet tension. Predators prowled in shadows, while schools of smaller fish darted in synchrony, ever wary of danger. The sturgeon, armored with tough bony scuts, glided through the currents largely untroubled. Its protective scales, arranged like ancient tiles, absorbed impacts and deterred attacks. Its body was a blend of strength and flexibility, capable of sudden shifts when necessary, yet built for enduring the steady push of the current. Here, patience was as vital as speed, and the sturgeon had mastered both. Water levels rose and fell with the seasons, carving new channels and changing the landscape of survival. Floods could be devastating, reshaping riverbeds and washing away vegetation, yet the sturgeon endured. It sought refuge in deep pools, moved with the currents, and adjusted its feeding habits to the rhythms of the water. It learned, generation after generation, to navigate not just the river itself, but the cycles of life that dictated where food could be found, where predators might lie, and where young could be safely nurtured. Even in this ancient world, change was constant. Climate shifts brought periods of drought and deluge, altering the course of rivers and the distribution of life. Other species evolved rapidly, developing new forms, hunting strategies, and survival tactics. Yet the sturgeon remained steady, a living bridge between the past and the future. Its body plan, perfected in earlier ages, required little alteration. Evolution had endowed it with endurance, adaptability, and resilience, qualities that ensured survival in a world of constant flux. In the Triassic rivers, the sturgeon began to develop patterns of behavior that would last millions of years. Migration routes formed as it followed the currents to feeding grounds and back to spawning sites. Its reproductive strategy, slow and deliberate, was finely tuned to the rhythm of the rivers. Young fish were carried by the currents to sheltered areas, ensuring the continuation of the species. Every generation carried the memory of those who came before, a lineage of survival written not in stone, but in instinct and DNA. Here, in these ancient waters, the sturgeon was not just a fish. It was a witness to the dawn of complex ecosystems, a participant in the slow unfolding of life, a survivor of trials that would have ended lesser species. It had learned to endure, to adapt, and to thrive. It had learned patience. And in that patience lay the key to its survival, a lesson that would echo through millions of years of Earth's history. The Triassic rivers flowed endlessly, shaping the land and the lives within them. The sturgeon moved through these waters, unchanged in form, yet growing in experience. Its story was becoming one of quiet resilience, a testament to life's ability to endure when guided by instinct, protection, and the slow wisdom of evolution. In the currents of these ancient rivers, the sturgeon found its path, a deliberate journey that would carry it through time, through continents, and through epochs yet to come. The Earth is a world of constant change, a place where mountains rise and crumble, oceans shift, and climates sway between extremes. Through all of this, some creatures are swept away by the tides of time, their stories ending before they can be remembered. Yet the sturgeon endured. Across millions of years, it persisted, a quiet observer of the Earth's transformations, moving steadily through rivers that themselves were constantly reshaping. From the end of the Triassic into the Jurassic and beyond, life on land and in the seas grew more complex. Dinosaurs rose to dominate the continents, giant reptiles patrolled the oceans, and early mammals skittered through undergrowth. Predators evolved, ecosystems shifted, and species came and went, yet the sturgeon continued, largely unchanged. It did not need to match the speed of a hunting dinosaur, nor the cunning of a marine predator. Its survival lay in patience, in endurance, in a form perfected long before the threats it faced arose. The rivers of this era were alive with movement. Seasonal floods reshaped their courses, washed nutrients into the water, and carried young fish to safer feeding grounds. The sturgeon navigated these rivers with an innate understanding of their rhythms, moving with the current, avoiding danger, and finding sustenance along the muddy bottoms. Its barbels probed the substrate, sensing prey invisible to the eye. Its armored scuts protected it from larger predators. Its streamlined body allowed it to glide silently, a shadow beneath the water, unseen and untroubled. Ice ages had not yet arrived, but other environmental forces tested its endurance. Shifts in sea level, volcanic activity, and climatic swings created new rivers and destroyed old ones. Many species could not adapt quickly enough, vanishing from the fossil record in sudden bursts. The sturgeon, however, moved at its own pace, conserving energy, reproducing carefully, and surviving where others failed. Its slow growth and delayed maturity were not weaknesses, but strategies, a deliberate approach to life that allowed it to persist despite the unpredictability of the world. In these ancient rivers, the sturgeon began to accumulate a legacy. Each generation carried the memory of survival, encoded in instinct and in DNA. Patterns of migration, feeding, and spawning were passed down, refined by countless cycles of life and death. It learned where to hide, when to emerge, how to endure, and how to thrive in a world that was often hostile. It became a silent teacher of resilience, a creature that embodied the quiet power of persistence. The sturgeon's endurance was not flashy or dramatic. It did not chase dominance. It did not build empires. It simply survived. And in survival, it achieved something remarkable. While countless species rose and fell in dramatic bursts, the sturgeon maintained a steady presence. It became a living thread connecting ages of the Earth's history, a bridge between worlds, a survivor whose life spanned changes that would have ended lesser creatures. Even as continents drifted apart and rivers changed courses, the sturgeon continued its quiet journey. Its body, largely unchanged, was a testament to perfection through endurance. Its instincts, refined over millions of years, allowed it to navigate a constantly changing world with calm efficiency. In its deliberate movements, in its patient feeding, and in its careful migrations, it carried the story of survival forward, a story that would stretch across eons, witnessed by the rise and fall of predators, civilizations, and ecosystems alike. Through ice, fire, flood, and predator, the sturgeon endured. It had learned the rhythm of time, the slow pulse of the rivers, the wisdom of waiting. And as the ages unfolded around it, it became more than a fish. It became a symbol of persistence, a living archive of survival, and a reminder that life does not always flourish in speed or force, but often in quiet resilience. The sturgeon survived because it understood patience. It survived because it moved with the currents of the world rather than against them. And it survived because, in the vast and ever-changing tapestry of life, some forms are so perfected that time itself cannot undo them. Rivers have a rhythm all their own, a pulse older than human memory, a song that has carried life across continents and through ages. For the sturgeon, the river is more than water. It is home, highway, and guide. Its life is entwined with the flow of the currents, with the seasonal cycles of the river, and with the silent wisdom embedded in its instincts. From birth to maturity, every movement is a response to the river's rhythm, every choice guided by the currents that have flowed the same way for millions of years. Each year, the sturgeon undertakes a journey both familiar and vital. As the seasons shift and the waters warm, it moves between feeding grounds and spawning grounds, between deep pools and shallow tributaries, guided by a memory older than the oldest forests. Females return to the very rivers where they themselves hatched, instinctively knowing where the gravel beds lie, where the water is calm enough to protect eggs, where the young can drift safely with the current. Males follow in quiet patience, ready to fertilize the eggs but never in haste, each movement a part of a cycle perfected over countless generations. The young sturgeon, carried by the currents, begin their own journey even before they are aware of it. They drift along slow channels, sheltered by vegetation, learning the flow of the water, sensing vibrations, discovering where food can be found and where danger lurks. For them, survival is guided less by sight and more by instinct, a knowledge passed down through DNA and experience, connecting them to generations that swam these rivers long before the first forests grew along the banks. Migration is not merely a physical journey. It is a rhythm of life itself. The sturgeon does not rush. It waits for the river to guide it, for the seasons to signal the time to move, for the currents to carry it forward. In this patience lies its strength. Predators may roam the waters, floods may reshape the riverbed, and droughts may shrink the channels, yet the sturgeon continues, adapting to the changing flow while remaining true to its course. Even in rivers far apart, the Columbia, the Danube, the Volga, or the Amur, the same patterns of migration occur. Each population moves in harmony with its environment, yet all follow the same ancient principles: timing, patience, and respect for the cycles of water and life. The sturgeon is a teacher of endurance, reminding us that survival often depends not on speed, but on understanding, on listening, on following the rhythm of life itself. The river is also a classroom of resilience. It teaches the sturgeon when to hide, when to hunt, when to rest, and when to push forward. Each year brings lessons, some small, some monumental. Young fish learn to navigate floods, avoid predators, and find food in changing conditions. Adults refine their instincts, perfecting the art of patience and endurance. Through these cycles, the sturgeon becomes more than a survivor. It becomes a master of its environment, a living embodiment of the river's wisdom. And as the sturgeon swims through the endless currents, it carries the memory of generations. Each migration is not just a journey of the individual, but a continuation of the species' story. Its path connects the past to the present, linking millions of years of evolution to the rivers it now inhabits. The sturgeon moves with quiet purpose, unhurried, deliberate, and eternal, a living testament to the power of rhythm, patience, and the cycles of life. Through the seasons, the rivers change, yet the sturgeon persists. It flows with the currents, returning to its birthplace, guiding its young, and ensuring that the legacy of survival continues. In every glide, in every dive, in every careful turn, it teaches the value of patience and the enduring strength of life attuned to the natural world. The river is home, and the sturgeon is its quiet, timeless guardian, moving steadily through a world of endless change. Time moves differently for the sturgeon. While most creatures live on a fast clock, racing toward maturity and reproduction, the sturgeon measures life in decades rather than years. It grows slowly, patiently, deliberately, each year adding a fraction to its length, a fraction to its strength. Its slow heartbeat, its measured movements, and its long life are all strategies designed for survival in a world that is unpredictable and often unforgiving. Some sturgeon alive today may have hatched decades ago, long before the oldest human cities were built. Their bodies carry the lessons of generations, their instincts shaped by hundreds of millions of years. They do not rush. They do not need to. Survival, for them, is a patient endeavor. Each movement is calculated, each feeding carefully considered, each migration timed perfectly with the rhythms of the river. Delayed maturity is a deliberate gift of evolution. A young sturgeon may spend years in quiet growth, learning the currents, sensing predators, and waiting for the perfect moment to reproduce. This patience ensures that when it finally lays eggs or fertilizes them, the chances of success are high, that the next generation will continue the lineage uninterrupted. It is a rhythm set by the slow clock of life, one that balances risk and reward, growth and endurance. The sturgeon's longevity is a marvel. It can live for decades, sometimes over a century, witnessing seasons, floods, and droughts that come and go like whispers. Generations of humans may rise and fall in its lifetime, yet the sturgeon continues, largely unchanged, a living link to the past. Its body, though ancient in design, functions with precision and efficiency, a testament to the power of patience and the wisdom of slow growth. In the slow clock of life, the sturgeon teaches a lesson often forgotten by faster, shorter-lived creatures. Endurance is not measured in haste, but in continuity. Life is not a race but a journey, and survival is not always about aggression or speed. It is about knowing when to move, when to wait, when to reproduce, and when to rest. The sturgeon understands these rhythms instinctively, guiding its life along the river's ancient patterns with quiet perfection. Its slow pace also offers protection. In a world filled with predators, its deliberate movements make it less conspicuous. Its armored skuts, combined with patience, ensure that it can survive encounters that would end other species. Each year adds to its wisdom, each decade to its resilience. In this measured existence, the sturgeon becomes not only a survivor but a master of its environment, perfectly tuned to the cycles of water, seasons, and life itself. The slow clock of life teaches humans something profound as well. In a world that values speed and immediate results, the sturgeon reminds us that patience is a form of strength. That enduring, growing steadily, and respecting the rhythms of nature can be more powerful than haste. Its life is proof that longevity and patience are not weaknesses, but strategies perfected by millions of years of evolution. And so, the sturgeon continues to grow, year by year, decade by decade. Its slow clock is a heartbeat that echoes through the rivers, carrying the memory of the past and the promise of the future. Each moment of its deliberate life is a meditation on survival, a living lesson in patience, and a reminder that sometimes the greatest power lies not in speed, but in the quiet, enduring passage of time. The earth has never been still. Its surface shifts, its climate swings, its rivers rise and fall, and yet life continues. For the sturgeon, the world has always been in flux, a place of fire and ice, of floods and droughts, of sudden change and relentless cycles. And through it all, the sturgeon endures. Volcanoes reshaped landscapes, sending ash into the sky and lava across the land. Entire river systems could be altered in a matter of days. Yet the sturgeon adapted. It retreated to deep pools, seeking refuge where the waters were calmer, where it could survive the upheaval. Its armored body protected it from danger, its patient movements allowed it to conserve energy, and its instincts guided it to safety. Every challenge became a lesson in resilience, every change a test that it passed with quiet persistence. Glaciers carved valleys and redirected waterways. Ice ages advanced and retreated, freezing some rivers entirely, while leaving others to flow with frigid currents. Many species perished under these harsh conditions, unable to withstand the cold or find shelter. But the sturgeon, built for endurance, survived. Its slow growth and long lifespan allowed it to weather difficult seasons, waiting patiently until the rivers returned to warmth, until the currents resumed their steady rhythms. Floods swept through the land with terrifying force, carrying away vegetation, reshaping channels, and scattering young fish. Yet even in the chaos, the sturgeon moved with the water rather than against it. It let the currents carry it to safety, navigating hazards with instinct and caution. Survival, for the sturgeon, was never about fighting the world, but flowing with it, understanding its patterns, and enduring its trials. The sturgeon has witnessed the rise and fall of countless species. Predators, competitors, and even entire ecosystems have come and gone. Yet through fire, ice, and flood, it remains. Its endurance is not flashy or sudden. It is slow, steady, and deliberate. Its survival is a quiet testament to the power of patience, to the wisdom of adapting without unnecessary risk, and to the strength found in continuity. Even human influence, when it finally arrived, could not erase the lessons of the sturgeon's long existence. It has survived the shifting earth, the extremes of climate, and the unpredictability of rivers, carrying within it the memory of all these trials. Its DNA, instincts, and body have been refined not by speed or aggression, but by the calm, persistent practice of endurance. In a world that is always in motion, the sturgeon moves deliberately, following the rhythms of water, weather, and time. Its life is a meditation on resilience, a slow testament to the art of survival. Each river it swims, each flood it rides, each icy current it endures, is a continuation of a journey that began hundreds of millions of years ago. Through ice, fire, and flood, The sturgeon teaches us that survival is not always about conquest. It is about patience, adaptation, and quiet endurance. It reminds us that life can persist even in the face of forces far greater than ourselves, and that sometimes the greatest triumph is simply to continue, steady and unbroken, through the endless flux of the world. As humans emerged along the rivers of the world, they could not help but notice the sturgeon. Its immense size, its deliberate movements, its slow, patient glide through the water, all of it inspired awe and reverence. In a world where humans were learning to tame nature, the sturgeon was untamed, ancient, and enduring. It became more than a fish. It became a symbol, a legend, a creature that connected people to the rhythms of the rivers and the deep memory of the earth itself. In the great rivers of Russia, the beluga sturgeon was called the river dragon. Fishermen spoke of its enormous size, the way it could appear silently in the water and vanish just as quickly. To encounter a beluga was to witness something timeless, a being that carried centuries of survival within its scales. Stories passed down through generations told of its wisdom, its patience, and its seeming immortality. It was respected, sometimes feared, and always admired. Across Persia and the Caspian Sea, the sturgeon's eggs, the golden caviar, became symbols of wealth and abundance. Kings and nobles prized them, yet the fish itself was honored. Legends claimed that the sturgeon could sense changes in seasons, warn of floods, and navigate the shifting rivers with knowledge beyond human comprehension. To see one break the surface of a river was considered a sign, a glimpse of the eternal, a connection to the hidden rhythms of nature. In Europe, from the Danube to the Rhine, the sturgeon appeared in stories and folk tales. It was described as a guardian of rivers, a creature of immense age and power, teaching humans the value of patience and respect for the water. Children learned to fear and respect the rivers because of the sturgeon, understanding that life did not belong to humans alone, but to the creatures that had thrived long before them. Even in art, the sturgeon inspired wonder. It appeared in paintings, tapestries, and decorations, often alongside royal feasts, a reminder of nature's abundance and the mysteries of life beneath the water. It was not merely food, though prized for its eggs. It was a living emblem of endurance and strength, a creature that had survived ice ages, floods, predators, and the rise and fall of empires. The fascination with the sturgeon was more than superstition. It reflected a recognition of life perfected through patience, survival, and adaptation. Humans saw in the sturgeon a reflection of qualities they valued: longevity, resilience, and the quiet power of enduring against the odds. In rivers that flowed for millennia, the sturgeon moved with calm authority, teaching lessons humans could only glimpse, a living archive of time and survival. Through legend, myth, and admiration, the sturgeon became a bridge between nature and humanity. It reminded humans that the world is ancient, that life can endure through centuries of change, and that some creatures are more than their flesh and scales. They are symbols of the past, teachers of patience, and guardians of the rivers. To encounter a sturgeon was to touch history. It was to see a being older than kingdoms, older than cities, older than any empire. It was to witness endurance, to feel the slow heartbeat of survival, and to understand that sometimes power is measured not in conquest, but in quiet persistence, perfected over millions of years. As human civilizations grew along the great rivers, the sturgeon became more than a legend. It became a treasure. Its eggs, known as caviar, were coveted by kings, emperors, and nobles. In the courts of Russia and Persia, in the palaces of Europe, caviar was prized not only for its flavor but for the rarity and majesty it represented. The sturgeon itself, massive and deliberate, glided silently through the waters, largely unbothered, yet it had become entwined with the desires and ambitions of humankind. Rivers were lifelines for both humans and sturgeon alike. The same waters that nurtured the fish supported thriving civilizations, trade, and culture. Fishermen developed methods to harvest sturgeon, often following ancient patterns passed down through generations. They learned the rhythms of the rivers, the timing of migrations, and the habits of the fish. Yet, despite this attention, the sturgeon endured. Its slow growth and late maturity meant that it could survive exploitation for centuries, though never without consequence. The sturgeon became a symbol of wealth and status. Possessing its eggs or even glimpsing the massive fish in the river conveyed power, refinement, and a connection to the enduring forces of nature. Trade routes were established for caviar, carrying this prized delicacy across continents. Empires prospered, and along their waters, the sturgeon continued its quiet life, moving patiently between spawning grounds and feeding areas, largely oblivious to the human ambitions that surrounded it. Yet human fascination brought both admiration and peril. The demand for caviar sometimes exceeded the river's capacity to sustain the species. Fishing intensified, spawning grounds were disturbed, and the balance that the sturgeon had maintained for millions of years began to shift. Still, it survived, a testament to its resilience, its patient life cycles, and the careful adaptations that evolution had instilled. Even as empires rose and fell, the sturgeon persisted. Its body, unchanged over hundreds of millions of years, moved through waters that had witnessed the rise of cities, kingdoms, and trade networks. It swam past bridges, ports, and bustling harbors, enduring in the same deliberate way it had since before the first dinosaurs. In this, it became more than a fish. It became a symbol of continuity, of life that persists beyond human ambition, of a world older and wiser than any empire. The story of caviar is intertwined with the story of survival. For centuries, humans prized the sturgeon, yet the fish taught lessons in patience and endurance. It reminded people that life cannot be rushed, that longevity comes from measured growth and careful timing, and that nature, even when exploited, has its own quiet strength. The sturgeon's existence became a reflection of both human desire and evolutionary mastery, a bridge between ambition and patience, between wealth and survival. And so, along the rivers that nurtured great civilizations, the sturgeon continued its quiet life. It moved with the rhythm of the currents, survived the pressures of human demand, and maintained the patterns of its ancient lineage. In every slow, deliberate movement, it carried lessons of resilience, wisdom, and the enduring power of life, a reminder that some of the most precious treasures are not created by human hands, but by nature itself over millions of years. The world changed with the rise of industry. Smoke rose from factories, iron rails stretched across landscapes, and human ambition carved the land with a force that no river had known before. The sturgeon, ancient and patient, continued to glide through its rivers, unaware of the upheaval, yet feeling the subtle shifts brought by the machines and the hands of men. Rivers that had flowed for millions of years were altered. Dams were built to control water, redirecting currents and blocking access to traditional spawning grounds. Factories discharged waste into once pristine waters, changing chemistry, temperature, and life beneath the surface. Where the sturgeon had once moved freely, its paths became constricted. Yet, even in these new challenges, it endured. It found refuge in deeper pools, adapted to quieter tributaries, and waited for opportunities to continue its life cycle. Fishing intensified. Nets and hooks, designed for efficiency and profit, reduced populations that had survived ice ages, floods, and predators. The sturgeon's slow growth and late maturity, once advantages for long-term survival, now became liabilities. Many individuals perished before reproducing, and entire populations dwindled. Yet the species persisted, a testament to its resilience, a living relic of a time before machines, before industry, before the rivers were forever changed. Even as human activity pressed harder, the sturgeon remained largely unchanged in body and behavior. It did not evolve overnight to meet the challenges of industrialization. It relied on what it had learned over millions of years. Its armor protected it from some threats, its instinct guided it to hidden refuges, and its slow, deliberate nature allowed it to conserve energy and survive when others would not. Each surviving fish carried within it the story of endurance, a bridge between the ancient past and the uncertain present. The industrial age was a turning point. For the first time, human influence threatened to outpace nature's ability to adapt. Yet the sturgeon, shaped by eons of survival, persisted. Its endurance was not miraculous, but the result of strategies perfected over hundreds of millions of years. Patience, slow growth, careful reproduction, and a life in harmony with the rhythms of rivers. Even in decline, it remained a symbol of persistence, a reminder that life can endure even under pressure from forces far greater than itself. In the quiet depths of rivers, away from human eyes, the sturgeon continued its journey. It migrated along ancient paths, fed in the mud of the riverbed, and reproduced when the time was right. It endured the industrial scars of the world above, teaching, silently, that survival is not always about power, but about adaptability, patience, and resilience. The industrial age would leave its mark on the sturgeon, and it would take generations to recover. Yet even in the shadow of machines, factories, and dams, the sturgeon's story remained unchanged. It was, and still is, a living testament to the quiet strength of endurance, the persistence of life, and the wisdom of a species that has survived the rise and fall of empires, the extremes of climate, and the relentless march of human ambition. And so, in the age of iron and industry, the sturgeon continues to glide through rivers, a silent survivor, a bridge to the past, and a reminder that life, when patient and resilient, can endure even the most profound transformations of the world around it. As humans began to recognize the consequences of their actions, a new awareness arose. The sturgeon, once plentiful, now faced threats unlike any it had encountered in millions of years. Its rivers were altered, its populations diminished, and the delicate balance of survival that had carried it through ice ages, floods, and predators was under unprecedented pressure. But with awareness came effort, and with effort came hope. Conservation began to awaken, and the sturgeon became a symbol not only of survival, but of the responsibility humans have to protect life that predates civilization itself. Along the great rivers of Russia, the Caspian Sea, and beyond, programs were established to monitor and protect sturgeon populations. Spawning grounds were restored, young fish were raised in nurseries and carefully reintroduced to rivers, and laws were enacted to limit overfishing. Scientists studied the fish's migrations, its growth patterns, and its delicate reproductive cycles, learning from a creature that had survived hundreds of millions of years through patient adaptation. The sturgeon became a living teacher, guiding humans in understanding how to live in balance with nature. These efforts were more than conservation. They were acts of reverence. Humans recognized that the sturgeon was not merely a resource, but a link to a world that had existed long before cities, empires, or roads. Protecting it was a way to honor time itself, to safeguard continuity, and to preserve a living testament to patience, endurance, and resilience. Rivers that had suffered under industry were slowly being restored, and with them, the ancient pathways of the sturgeon. In sanctuaries and deep pools, the sturgeon continues to glide, almost unaware of the human efforts surrounding it. Yet these efforts make a profound difference. Young sturgeon, once threatened by overfishing and habitat destruction, now have the chance to survive to adulthood, to return to the rivers of their birth, and to continue the cycle perfected over millions of years. Each generation carries forward the lessons of endurance and patience, now guided by both instinct and human stewardship. The awakening of conservation teaches us as much as the sturgeon itself. It shows that even in a world transformed by ambition and industry, life can be nurtured and preserved. The sturgeon reminds us that survival depends not only on adaptation and endurance, but on respect, patience, and care from those who share the world with it. Its presence in protected rivers is a quiet triumph, a testament to the possibility of coexistence and the enduring power of life. Through conservation, the sturgeon continues its ancient journey, moving between feeding grounds and spawning sites, drifting with the currents, and teaching lessons in patience that echo far beyond the water. It endures not just because of its evolutionary design, but because humans have begun to recognize the value of preservation, the necessity of understanding, and the importance of respecting the rhythms of life that have persisted long before our own. And so, in the calm, deep waters of restored rivers, the sturgeon swims on. It is both survivor and teacher, ancient yet ever-present, a reminder that continuity is possible when care, patience, and reverence guide our actions. The rivers may change, the world may shift, but the sturgeon endures, a guardian of the waters, a link to the past, and a symbol of hope for the future. Within every sturgeon flows a story written not only in scales and fins, but in its DNA, a code that carries the wisdom of millions of years. This genetic memory is more than a blueprint for survival. It is an archive of endurance, a living record of adaptation, patience, and resilience. Each cell contains instructions honed over centuries, guiding the sturgeon's movements, its feeding, its migrations, and its careful timing of reproduction. It is as if the rivers themselves have left messages within the fish, messages that echo across generations. The sturgeon's genome reveals secrets of survival. Genes duplicated and refined over eons provide resistance to disease, adaptability to changing waters, and the capacity for remarkable longevity. Its slow growth and delayed sexual maturity are written into its DNA, ensuring that the species reproduces only when conditions are right. These strategies are not accidents. They are deliberate solutions, crafted by the patient hand of evolution, tested and retested through mass extinctions, climate shifts, and environmental upheavals. Migration, one of the sturgeon's most astonishing feats, is guided by genetic memory. It instinctively navigates thousands of kilometers, from the oceans to the rivers of its birth, returning to the same spawning grounds as its ancestors. It does not rely on maps, human guidance, or trial and error. Its DNA contains the directions, encoded like a song passed down through generations, guiding it along currents and past obstacles with precision. Each sturgeon is, in a sense, a living map of the rivers it has never seen, a traveler guided by the knowledge of millions of predecessors. Even reproduction is shaped by this inherited wisdom. Spawning occurs only at the right temperature, in the right gravel beds, under the rhythms dictated by nature and written into their genetic code. Eggs are laid carefully, dispersed strategically, and fertilized with patience, maximizing the chance that the next generation will survive. This method has allowed sturgeon populations to persist through catastrophes that wiped out countless other species. Genetic memory also explains the sturgeon's resilience in the face of challenges. Disease, environmental fluctuations, and predation are all obstacles it has encountered repeatedly through the ages. Its DNA equips it with mechanisms to adapt subtly to new threats, to withstand hardships that would overwhelm less ancient species. It is a form of wisdom encoded biologically, a silent instruction to endure, to wait, to persist. The sturgeon reminds us that survival is not always visible. Its greatest strengths are hidden within, in the sequences of nucleotides that dictate every movement, every heartbeat, every instinct. It is a creature guided by time itself, carrying the knowledge of past rivers, past predators, and past climates within its very being. Through this genetic memory, the sturgeon connects the present with epochs long gone, embodying continuity in a world that is constantly changing. And so, as it glides through the rivers today, the sturgeon is more than a fish. It is a living archive, a testament to the power of memory encoded in life. Its DNA is a map of survival, a record of patience, and a guide for generations yet to come. In its very being, the sturgeon carries the story of 208 million years, a story written not in words, but in the quiet, deliberate persistence of life itself. The sturgeon is often called a living fossil, a phrase that captures its remarkable continuity through time. For 208 million years, it has remained largely unchanged, a creature whose body tells the story of evolutionary perfection. Unlike species that constantly adapt with dramatic changes in form and behavior, the sturgeon has discovered a design that works so well that little alteration has been necessary. Its existence is a testament to the quiet power of endurance, a demonstration that survival does not always demand novelty, but sometimes perfection in persistence. Its skeletal structure, made of flexible cartilage rather than heavy bone, allows it to move with grace through currents and deep waters. Its armored scuts provide protection without slowing it down, like a shield that has been refined over eons. Barbels extend from its mouth, delicate yet precise sensory tools, probing the riverbed for hidden food. Its elongated body glides effortlessly through the water, propelled by powerful, deliberate strokes. Each feature, each scale, each movement is the result of millions of years of refinement, a design honed for survival rather than display. The sturgeon's behavior reflects this evolutionary mastery. It does not need to fight or chase aggressively. It grows slowly, reproduces late, and migrates with instinctual precision. Its life strategy is the embodiment of patience. By adhering to patterns that have proven successful across countless generations, it minimizes risk while maximizing survival. In a world where other species rise and fall dramatically, the sturgeon moves quietly, steadily, unchanging in its perfection. Living fossils like the sturgeon remind us that evolution is not always about change. Sometimes it is about endurance, about stability in a fluctuating world, about getting it right once and maintaining that balance through time. The sturgeon has weathered ice ages, volcanic eruptions, shifting rivers, predators, and human exploitation. Yet its form, largely unaltered, continues to carry it through the rivers and seas of the present. Its persistence also offers a lesson about adaptation. Change is not always necessary for survival. The sturgeon's design is flexible, yet enduring. It can navigate new currents, survive shifting climates, and withstand pressures that would challenge other species. Its longevity, both individually and across generations, demonstrates that sometimes the greatest adaptation is constancy, a life strategy that balances patience with precision, caution with endurance. The sturgeon is a living bridge across time, connecting the earth of the distant past with the rivers of today. To see it is to witness history itself, a creature unchanged in body, yet continually interacting with the ever-changing world. It glides through waters that have been shaped by millennia, a reminder that survival is not always about rapid evolution or dramatic reinvention, but about perfecting the art of enduring. And so, in the calm currents of modern rivers, the sturgeon swims as it always has. Its body is a record of perfection, its behavior a demonstration of timeless wisdom, and its life a proof that sometimes the most extraordinary achievement of evolution is simply to survive, unaltered, against the relentless march of time. The sturgeon is not only a fish, it is a living testament to the quiet, enduring power of life itself. The sturgeon is a traveler of rivers, a wanderer whose journeys span continents, guided not by maps or compasses, but by instincts honed over hundreds of millions of years. From the frozen rivers of Siberia to the winding courses of the Danube, the sturgeon's life is defined by movement, a deliberate, patient migration that connects oceans, rivers, and generations. Its path is ancient, traced long before humans marked the land with cities and borders, a journey dictated by the cycles of water and the rhythms of life itself. Each population of sturgeon has its own story, yet all follow the same ancient principles. They move with the seasons, seeking spawning grounds where the gravel beds are ideal and the waters calm. They travel from deep, open waters to shallow tributaries, from rivers to estuaries, following currents that have guided their ancestors for millions of years. Their migrations are measured, patient, and precise, demonstrating an understanding of the world that is encoded in instinct and refined through countless generations. Across continents, the sturgeon has adapted to diverse rivers and climates. In Europe, the Danube and the Rhine witnessed their slow passage, massive fish gliding beneath bridges and alongside human settlements. In Asia, the Amur River became a pathway for long migrations, the currents carrying the young downstream and adults upstream to reproduce. Even the Caspian Sea, with its vast expanse of water, became a stage for these ancient travelers, a place where the sturgeon's life cycle continued uninterrupted despite the presence of human empires and trade routes along its shores. The global journey of sturgeon is not just a story of movement, it is a story of survival and connection. Each river it enters carries nutrients, predators, and challenges, yet the sturgeon persists. Its instincts guide it around obstacles, through rapids, past predators, and into calm waters. Its body, evolved for endurance, supports long migrations without fatigue. Its genetic memory ensures that it finds the same spawning grounds its ancestors used, maintaining continuity across time and space. Humans, too, were drawn to these migrations. For centuries, the sturgeon's journey inspired awe and reverence. Fishermen learned the timing of migrations, traders anticipated the arrival of caviar, and cultures celebrated the presence of these ancient travelers in their rivers. Yet despite this attention, the sturgeon endured, a living bridge between continents, ecosystems, and generations. The global journey of the sturgeon reminds us that life is both connected and resilient. Its movements link rivers and seas, past and present, survival and legacy. Every glide downstream, every careful swim upstream, is a continuation of a story that began hundreds of millions of years ago, long before humans walked along riverbanks or built cities on their shores. And so, the sturgeon swims across continents, a quiet witness to the world's changing landscapes. Its journey is steady, deliberate, and eternal, a reminder that life is defined not only by the places it reaches, but by the endurance and patience with which it moves through them. Across continents and through the ages, the sturgeon's journey continues, an ancient traveler, a master of rivers, and a living testament to the enduring power of life itself. Today, the sturgeon swims in a world both familiar and profoundly changed. Its rivers are no longer untouched. Dams, pollution, and human development have reshaped the waterways it has called home for millions of years. Yet, even amidst this transformation, the sturgeon persists. Its presence is a reminder of endurance, a living connection to a time before cities, before industry, and before humans began to alter the world so dramatically. Modern challenges are complex. Overfishing, climate change, and habitat loss threaten sturgeon populations across the globe. Some species teeter on the edge of extinction, while others survive in isolated pockets, holding on with the same patience and resilience that has characterized their lineage since the Triassic. Conservation efforts have become critical, combining human care with the sturgeon's ancient strategies for survival. Breeding programs, river restoration projects, and legal protections offer hope, yet they also highlight how fragile even the most enduring life can be in a world transformed by human hands. Despite these pressures, the sturgeon continues to move with the same quiet authority that has defined its existence for 208 million years. Its migrations, now sometimes guided by conservationists and hatcheries, follow patterns written deep in its DNA. Young fish, raised in carefully monitored environments, are released into the rivers to continue the legacy of their ancestors. Every generation is a testament to adaptation, endurance, and the slow wisdom that nature has perfected over millennia. The sturgeon's role in modern culture has also evolved. No longer just a source of caviar or a symbol of ancient rivers, it has become an icon of conservation and ecological awareness. Scientists, educators, and environmentalists highlight its story to teach lessons about patience, resilience, and the importance of protecting life that connects us to the deep past. Children learn of the sturgeon not only as a creature of the river, but as a living archive of evolution, a reminder that survival is an achievement measured across generations rather than years. Even in the face of human pressures, the sturgeon continues to inspire. Its long life, patient migrations, and enduring presence remind us that nature's lessons are slow, deliberate, and profound. It teaches that survival does not always depend on speed or aggression, but on wisdom, adaptation, and persistence. The rivers that carry sturgeon today are quieter and more fragile than the wild waterways of the past, yet the fish moves through them with the same calm, deliberate grace, a bridge between ancient times and the present moment. In modern rivers, the sturgeon is both survivor and teacher, a living reminder of what is possible when life endures against overwhelming odds. Its legacy is not measured solely in numbers, but in the continuity of existence, in the patient unfolding of generations, and in the knowledge carried silently in its DNA. In every glide, every dive, and every careful turn, the sturgeon continues its journey, proving that life, when tempered by patience and resilience, can survive even in a world that has been transformed beyond recognition. And so, in the rivers of today, the sturgeon swims on. Between survival and legacy, it remains a living testament to the quiet, enduring power of life. Its story is far from over, for as long as there are rivers, as long as humans remember, and as long as patience prevails, the ancient survivor continues, a bridge across time, a master of endurance, and a symbol of nature's profound resilience. The sturgeon has survived for 208 million years, witnessing epochs of unimaginable change. It has swum through rivers that predate humans, endured ice ages, floods, volcanic upheavals, and the rise and fall of empires. It has persisted through human ambition, industrialization, and overfishing. And yet, despite all these trials, it remains. Its story is not only a testament to endurance, but a guide to the future, a reminder that survival is rooted in patience, adaptation, and reverence for the rhythms of life. The future of the sturgeon depends on balance. It depends on rivers flowing freely, on humans protecting habitats, and on global awareness of the fragile connections that sustain life. Conservation efforts are more critical than ever. Scientists monitor migrations, rehabilitate spawning grounds, and work to restore populations that have been fragmented. Each action taken today is a continuation of the sturgeon's 208 million-year journey, a collaboration between ancient instinct and human care. Yet even as humans intervene, the sturgeon teaches lessons beyond mere survival. Its slow growth reminds us that life cannot always be rushed. Its migrations show us the power of timing and patience. Its resilience reveals that enduring life strategies are often subtle, measured, and deliberate rather than dramatic. In every careful movement, the sturgeon embodies the wisdom of time, a living archive that whispers the secrets of longevity to anyone willing to listen. The sturgeon also teaches humility. It moves through waters that have been altered, yet it does so without complaint, without haste. It reminds us that the world existed long before us and will continue long after us, and that survival requires respect for the systems and cycles that sustain life. Its future is intertwined with our choices, its continued existence a reflection of how humans steward the planet. In imagining the centuries to come, one can picture sturgeon gliding through restored rivers, young fish finding safe passage, and ancient migrations continuing uninterrupted. We see a future where humans learn from the sturgeon's patience, where rivers are valued not just for commerce, but as living corridors of history, life, and resilience. The sturgeon, unchanged in form, will continue to carry the wisdom of millions of years into a world that is rapidly changing, a bridge from the past to a sustainable future. Ultimately, the sturgeon is more than a survivor. It is a teacher, a symbol, and a guide. Its 208 million-year journey reminds us that life is precious, endurance is powerful, and adaptation requires both patience and respect. The lessons it imparts are simple, yet profound. Move deliberately, survive with wisdom, and honor the cycles of the natural world. And so, as the rivers flow, the sturgeon swims on, timeless and enduring. Its past is a story of survival, its present a testament to resilience, and its future a promise that even in a world of change, the quiet strength of life, perfected over millions of years, can endure, inspire, and teach generations to come. The ancient survivor continues, a living echo of the Earth's history, a master of rivers, and a symbol of life's enduring power.